Imagine waking up tomorrow to a world where a simple scratch from a rosebush in your garden could actually be a death sentence.
Or even just, a routine dental cleaning.
Right, exactly. I mean, we've spent the last 70 years taking antibiotics completely for granted. We basically treat them like magic erasers for every little cough and sneeze.
Yeah, we really do.
But the microscopic world has adapted, and we are currently staring down the barrel of a global public health collapse. So today, we're taking a deep dive into a proposed blueprint to save us from that post-antibiotic era.
And I have to say, the blueprint provided in today's source materials relies on just a completely unexpected combination of things.
Oh, it's wild.
It really is. I mean, it's a genuinely staggering stack of reading material. You don't usually see ancient Vedic theology sitting right next to, like, a Silicon Valley pitch deck.
Yeah, well, you definitely don't.
And then throw in a theoretical physics abstract on top of that. But there is this remarkably tight logical framework binding all of it together.
And that is our mission for you today. We want to map out exactly how those pieces fit together. So we're going to explore how a modern physician, Dr. Kadiyali Srivatsa, is using his direct ancestral link to an ancient sage, a sage named Vishwamitra, to build something the sources call Lokagraha in the digital age.
Right.
We're going to look at how this AI system, which is named Dr. Maya, is translating an abstract spiritual duty into measurable hard data to fight off the superbug crisis.
Which means we really need to start at the absolute foundation of this whole framework.
Yeah.
Because to understand the technology, you have to understand the source code of the people building it.
Yeah, the human element.
Exactly. And that brings us to the Saptarishi, which are the 7 great sages of Hinduism.
Right. And the sources focus really heavily on one sage in particular, Vishwamitra. And what's so fascinating about Vishwamitra is that he wasn't, born into this life of serene meditation.
Not at all.
He actually started out as this wildly powerful warrior king named Kaushik. He commanded massive armies. But at a certain point, he had this huge realization that military and political power are just fundamentally limited. Like, you can only conquer so much territory.
Yeah, there's a ceiling to it.
Exactly. So he actually abandons his kingdom, renounces all his royal comforts, and just goes up into the Himalayas to undergo tapasya.
And we should clarify, tapasya isn't just, sitting quietly with your thoughts.
Right, it's intense.
It is a grueling, incredibly intense form of penance and deep meditation that, in the lore, lasts for thousands of years. It's really all about breaking down the ego so you can access fundamental universal truths.
Yeah, and the sources detail how he eventually elevates himself through all this to the ultimate status of a Brahmarisi. But the cool part is he doesn't just stay on the mountain.
No, he comes back.
Right. He takes the knowledge he generated and brings it back down to the world. I mean, Vishwamitra is credited with creating the Gayatri mantra, which is still one of the most sacred and widely chanted mantras in Hinduism today.
It's massively influential.
And he also became a guru to Lord Ram, specifically training him in the use of these celestial weapons called the Bala and Ati Bala. Basically, he armed the next generation to fight demons.
And that specific transition, from warrior to sage, that is the critical piece of the puzzle here. He was a protector.
Right.
And that specific mission of protection was passed down. The materials actually show a direct ancestral lineage linking that ancient history straight to the modern day.
Which is just mind-blowing.
It is. Dr. Srivatsa, the physician behind this new AI technology, belongs to the Kadiyali Brahmin lineage, and this lineage originates directly from the Vishwamitra Gotra.
Meaning he's a genealogical descendant of that exact sage.
Exactly. And the family's ancestral deity is Sri Kartikeya, residing at the Uluru Temple in Karnataka. And what's interesting there is that the sources note Kartikeya is specifically known as the divine physician. He's the antidote to poisons, and, crucially, the slayer of demons.
Okay, let's unpack this for a second, though. Let's play devil's advocate. Because I hear the 600-year lineage thing, but is this sacred duty just, clever marketing?
That's a fair question.
Because a lot of tech founders in Silicon Valley love to claim they want to save the world, but at the end of the day, they're really just trying to build a unicorn startup, get VC funding, and cash out. Like, what proves this ancient lineage isn't just a shiny wrapper for another medical app?
I mean, that is a highly necessary question to ask when you're looking at any tech startup. But the sources provide a very clear operational mandate here that totally separates this from standard venture capitalism.
How so?
Well, Dr. Srivatsa's framework is structurally hostile to the traditional profit models of modern medicine. He isn't trying to monopolize some new drug or, keep patients hooked on a monthly subscription service.
Right, the typical recurring revenue model.
Exactly. Just as Karthikeya is the antidote to poisons, Dr. Srivatsa views his work as an actual obligation to fight the modern demons threatening humanity. And the metrics he focuses on are entirely about reducing medical consumption, not increasing it.
Which brings us face to face with the modern demon they are actually fighting, which is antimicrobial resistance, or AMR, the superbug crisis.
Yes.
And the biological reality laid out in these papers is incredibly grim. Because we have overused antibiotics so heavily, I mean, in human medicine, in livestock, in agriculture, the bacteria has evolved, they've learned how to defeat our weapons.
And the statistics are just horrifying.
Yeah.
By the year 2050, AMR is projected to cause 10 million direct deaths annually.
Wow.
And if you aggregate the AMR-associated deaths between now and 2050, you are looking at a cumulative death toll of 169 million people.
I can't even wrap my head around that number.
So frame it for you, that is roughly 5 times the official death toll of the entire COVID-19 pandemic.
And this isn't just some far-off future problem either. Like, the reading points out that in India right now, the prevalence of multi-drug-resistant organisms is sitting at an astonishing 83%.
Yeah, the reality is already here. Historically, the discovery of antibiotics added about 23 years to the average human lifespan.
It was a miracle.
It was. But we're currently looking at a trajectory where, particularly in low and middle-income countries, that life expectancy could plummet right back down to 58 years.
Because simple infections become lethal again.
Exactly. The entire foundation of modern surgery, cancer treatments, basic public health, it all relies on antibiotics working. When they stop working, the whole system just falls apart.
But this dependence on antibiotics has created this massive illusion of safety for us. And this is where the sources use this terrifying concept from quantum physics to describe just how fragile that illusion is.
Oh, this part is fascinating.
They compare our current global healthcare system to something called a false vacuum.
It is a brilliant but totally unsettling metaphor. So in quantum field theory, a vacuum isn't just empty space. It's actually the lowest possible energy state a system can be in.
Right.
Now, a true vacuum is completely stable. But a false vacuum is a state that looks stable on the surface, but is actually metastable.
Okay, so how does that actually work in physical terms? Like for someone who isn't a physicist?
Sure. Imagine a ball rolling down a huge mountain. It falls into this small bowl-shaped crater halfway down the slope and just stops moving.
Okay.
Now, if you look at the ball, it seems perfectly stable. It isn't going anywhere, but it hasn't reached the bottom of the valley yet. It's just trapped in this temporary dip.
Ah, I see.
If a sudden earthquake hits, or a strong enough gust of wind pushes that ball out of the crater, it's going to come crashing all the way down the rest of the mountain to the true bottom.
And when it crashes down, the rules of the environment change entirely.
Exactly. In physics, if a bubble of true vacuum expands, it destroys the false reality and replaces it with a completely new set of fundamental physics at the speed of light.
That is terrifying.
It is. And for the last 70 years, modern medicine has basically been resting in that false vacuum. We found the crater of antibiotics, and we just stopped innovating. We built an entire global culture of dependency.
Yeah, where doctors overprescribe because patients literally demand a pill for every minor viral infection, even though, antibiotics do absolutely nothing against viruses.
Right. So the AMR crisis, this collapse of antibiotic efficacy, is the ball getting pushed out of the crater. It is the bubble of true vacuum expanding and just wiping out a century of medical advancements.
Man, and the sources combine that with another physics concept to explain why we aren't stopping it. They call it the naked singularity.
Yeah, another great metaphor.
Because a singularity is usually the center of a black hole, right? It's the point where gravity is so intense that the laws of physics just break down completely, but it's always hidden behind an event horizon, the point of no return where not even light can escape. So we can't actually see the breakdown happening.
Exactly. A traditional singularity is shrouded in darkness. But theoretical physics proposes that under certain really extreme conditions, an event horizon might actually not form. You would be left with a naked singularity.
Meaning we could see it.
Meaning the total breakdown of the universe's rules is happening completely exposed, in plain sight, entirely visible to any outside observer.
And they are using this to describe the medical establishment's reaction to the superbug crisis.
Because the collapse of our medical efficacy isn't hidden away in some secret underground laboratory. It is a naked singularity. It is happening right in front of us. Doctors are seeing patients die of infections that used to be easily curable.
The data is right there.
We see the data. It is completely visible. Yet the traditional medical establishment is largely staring right at it and just ignoring it. They're continuing the exact same protocols that caused the crisis in the first place.
Which means we have to ask why. Like, why would highly educated doctors ignore a crisis happening in plain sight? And the sources attribute this to something they call the sterile gaze of modern medicine.
The sterile gaze, yes.
It really comes down to liability, patient volume, and insurance algorithms. Just think about the last time you took your kid to an urgent care clinic for a fever. You wait for an hour. The doctor finally comes in, but they barely even make eye contact.
Right, they're just staring at a screen.
Exactly. They are staring at a computer screen, just clicking through this highly regulated fill-in-the-blank diagnostic checklist.
Because they're forced to abandon the actual art of taking a patient's history. They are treating a data profile, not a human being.
Right.
And this sterile gaze creates immense anxiety for the patient. You feel unheard, so you demand some form of tangible action, which is usually a prescription, just to feel validated. And doctors who are terrified of malpractice lawsuits and pushed by hospital admins to see 40 patients a day, they just hand over the antibiotics to get you out the door.
And the physical environment this creates is just a nightmare. I mean, the system herds terrified, mildly sick people into these overcrowded waiting rooms, and those waiting rooms just become massive biohazard zones where cross-infection thrives.
It's totally counterproductive.
The current model actually incentivizes highly contagious people to travel and infect others just to get a doctor's note, or a pill they don't even need.
Which is exactly the mechanical failure that Dr. Srivatsa's AI, Dr. Maya, is built to correct.
Right. And here's where it gets really interesting, because EMEA actually stands for Medical Advice You Access. And it's crucial to understand how this AI functions. It is not designed to act like a traditional doctor making some complex differential diagnosis.
No, if you have a strange rash and some bizarre autoimmune response, it isn't playing Dr. House.
Right.
Dr. Maya is essentially a highly intelligent biological traffic director. Its primary function is syndromic surveillance and triage. The entire goal is to keep infected, highly contagious people out of those crowded hospital waiting rooms unless they face a genuine emergency.
So it operates on this color-coded triage system based on how thousands of different symptoms combine. If the AI flags you as red, it means you have a critical emergency, get to a hospital immediately. If you're blue, it means you likely have highly infectious illness, so you need to isolate at home and use a remote consultation. Yellow means you need routine, non-urgent care, so, book a future appointment. And green means you have a minor, self-limiting ailment where home care or herbal remedies are perfectly sufficient.
So it creates a very clear, actionable pathway. But the true genius of the system isn't just the sorting algorithm behind it. It's actually how it interacts with the user.
I do have to challenge this, though, because if I'm a parent and it's 2:20 a.m. and my child is running a high fever, my brain is in pure panic mode.
Oh, absolutely.
Am I really going to trust a color-coded app on a screen over driving to the ER to see a human doctor in a white coat?
That panic instinct is exactly what the system is designed to address first. And this is really where the concept of dharma physically intersects with software engineering.
How so?
The AI doesn't just spit out a sterile yes or no directive. It uses an empathetic conversational interface to explain the why behind its triage decision. It treats your fear before it ever treats your physical symptom.
Oh, interesting.
And it does this using visual logic derived from ancient texts. Specifically, a text called the Abhuta Yantra Mantra Granth.
Okay, now we are getting into the really wild overlaps. Because a yantra is an ancient geometric diagram, right? Used in Hindu and Buddhist traditions for meditation, focus, and healing.
Yes.
They are these incredibly complex, symmetric, interlocking shapes and colors.
Yeah, and Dr. Srivatsa has essentially translated the fundamental visual logic of a yantra into the digital user interface of Dr. Maya. The color spectrum is very deliberate. Red represents fire and immediate circulation. Blue represents water, cooling, isolation. Green represents air, nature, and self-repair.
But how does looking at colors on a smartphone screen actually stop a parent from panicking at 2:00 a.m.?
Well, the sources cite neurological studies showing that observing ordered, color-coded symmetry actually lowers your neurological entropy.
Neurological entropy.
Yeah, so in simple terms, when you are sick and panicking, your brain is like a chaotic, noisy room where everyone is shouting at once. Your sympathetic nervous system is just in complete overdrive.
Fight or flight.
Exactly. The symmetric, intentionally color-coded interface of the AI acts like a pair of high-end, noise-canceling headphones for your brain.
Oh, wow.
The visual order physically calms your nervous system, it slows your heart rate, and it allows the rational part of your prefrontal cortex to come back online.
So the screen itself acts as a modern digital yantra. It physically alters your brain state so you can actually absorb the medical information.
Precisely. The AI serves as the modern equivalent of Kartikeya's vel, which is the divine spear that cuts through darkness and never misses its target.
That is such a cool parallel.
Isn't it? In Sanskrit, the word for illusion is Maya.
Wow.
So Dr. Maya cuts through the illusion of medical dependency. It clears away the panic so you can make a rational choice to stay home rather than making a fear-driven, completely unnecessary trip to the emergency room where you might catch something worse.
This philosophical synthesis is beautiful, honestly. But if we are trying to prevent a global economic and public health collapse, philosophy isn't enough. We need to see how this translates into hard data for stakeholders, investors, and public health officials.
And this is where we get to explore the specific framework of Lokagraha in the digital age. The sources actually map out how this abstract spiritual duty of world maintenance directly transitions into three highly measurable, pragmatic public health metrics.
Okay, let's construct that framework right now. Metric number 1, reducing the healthcare burden.
Right, so by using Dr. Maya to empower patients to safely manage those green and blue categories at home, the system is projected to reduce emergency appointments and unnecessary hospital visits by a staggering 60 to 80%.
Just think about the ripple effect of that. I mean, if you remove 80% of the minor colds, the unnecessary panics, and the viral infections from the waiting room, the system fundamentally decompresses.
It creates breathing room.
Exactly. It allows doctors to take a breath, restore eye contact, and focus their deep expertise solely on the patients who genuinely need critical face-to-face care.
Which drives metric number 2, economic protection. And this operates on both a micro and a macro level. On a micro level, by preventing unnecessary tests, travel, and the prescription of useless antibiotics, the system saves the individual patient significant money.
Like how much?
The sources estimate savings of up to 1.2 lakh rupees for an individual over time.
That is life-changing money, especially in developing nations where a trip to a centralized hospital might mean losing a week's wages, paying for transport, and taking on debt just to be told you have a standard virus.
Exactly.
And what about on the macro level?
On the macro level, it prevents the economic collapse associated with AMR. Because if we lose antibiotics, routine surgeries become impossible. Simple infections become lethal. The global workforce would just be decimated. So keeping people out of that false vacuum of antibiotic dependency protects the foundational economy of entire nations.
Which leads us perfectly into metric number 3, the early warning system. Because Dr. Maya isn't just an isolated app on your phone, it's a connected network processing real-time symptom inputs from thousands of users simultaneously.
Yeah, it acts as a highly sensitive pandemic radar. And how it works is quite brilliant. Let's say 50 people in one specific neighborhood all log into Dr. Maya within a 24-hour period, and they all input the same specific combination of blue, highly infectious symptoms.
Even though they haven't seen a doctor yet, they haven't taken a lab test.
Right. But the AI recognizes the geographic clustering of the symptoms instantly.
Wow.
It performs geographic syndromic surveillance. So it alerts public health officials to a localized outbreak, days or even weeks before those patients would have overwhelmed a physical clinic or spread the pathogen across the city.
It gives them a head start.
Exactly. It allows officials to isolate the threat before the domino effect truly begins.
But there is a massive, glaring hole in any digital framework like this. I mean, a smartphone app only works if you have a smartphone, right? And a data plan and the literacy to actually read the screen.
That's a huge barrier.
What about rural populations? What about people facing extreme poverty who are often the most vulnerable to infectious diseases?
And this is where Dr. Srivatsa integrates another core Vedic principle into the physical deployment of the technology. And that principle is ahimsa.
Ahimsa usually translates to non-violence, right? But in this context, it's really about non-domination because the traditional corporate medical model is incredibly top-down.
Very much so.
It gatekeeps care behind expensive insurance, centralized urban hospitals, and complex medical jargon. It literally exploits vulnerability.
So to counter that domination, the Dr. Maya framework is heavily deployed via physical, community-based stations. They call them PRIMA kiosks. PRIMA stands for Personal Risk Evaluation and Mental Assurance.
Let's spend a minute walking through exactly what that looks like on the ground. How does a PRIMA kiosk actually function in, say, a rural setting?
Okay, picture a standalone solar-powered kiosk placed directly in the center of a rural village. It runs on edge computing.
Meaning it doesn't even need a continuous high-speed internet connection to process the triage algorithms.
Exactly. Now imagine a local farmer who cannot read or write approaches the kiosk.
They interact with it using voice commands, right? The
Ah,
empathetic AI speaks to them in their local dialect.
yes. But it's not entirely automated, which is key.
Mhm.
The kiosk is actually managed by a local operator, someone from the village who has been trained to facilitate the interaction.
That makes a lot of sense.
So the farmer gets immediate, anonymous, color-coded triage advice. If they are in the green category, the local operator might direct them to traditional, locally sourced herbal remedies that the community already understands and trusts.
The genius of that is the decentralized accountability. It creates a microeconomy by providing a job for the local kiosk operator, and it completely bypasses the corporate gatekeeping of big pharmaceutical companies and distant urban hospitals.
Right. It doesn't force the farmer to take on debt just to travel to a city.
It really is the physical manifestation of Lokasamgraha. It protects the world by keeping the power, the resources, and the knowledge inside the local community.
It is.
Looking at the entire architecture of this, from the AI software to the solar-powered kiosks, it strikes me that Dr. Srivatsa is essentially using cutting-edge machine learning to teach humanity ancient self-reliance.
Oh, absolutely.
The sources refer to this ultimate goal as body literacy, because for the last century, we have given all our power away to the doctors in the white coats. We just forgot how to read the signals of our own biology.
We surrendered our intuition to the false vacuum. Lokasamgraha is about waking people up. It is about ensuring that the individuals who make up the world are informed, resilient, and capable of maintaining their own health without relying on a fragile, collapsing system.
It really is a profound journey when you step back and look at the whole picture. I mean, we started thousands of years ago with Vishwamitra, a warrior king who underwent grueling penance to generate knowledge and protect the world from demons. And today, we see his direct descendants in the Upadhyaya lineage using that exact same duty to fight the microscopic demons of antimicrobial resistance.
By translating that abstract duty of Lokasamgraha into the digital architecture of Dr. Maya, we actually have a practical, measurable roadmap. We can visualize how to decompress hospitals, protect the global economy, and stop a pandemic before it spreads.
It proves that ancient wisdom and modern technology aren't mutually exclusive at all. They can actually amplify each other. So, to you listening right now, the next time you feel a minor symptom, the next time you feel that instinct to rush to an urgent care clinic for a common cold, realize that you are standing on the front lines of this exact intersection.
You really are.
Every choice you make to rely on body literacy, every choice you make to tough out a virus at home instead of demanding an unnecessary antibiotic is a literal act of Lokasamgraha. You are actively participating in the maintenance and protection of the world.
And it leaves us with one incredibly provocative final thought.
Yeah.
We've spent the last decade terrified that artificial intelligence is going to strip away our humanity, that it will make our world colder, more sterile, and more calculated.
Yeah.
But if an AI like Dr. Maya can be programmed with the ancient sacred duty to protect the world, while human doctors are trapped by liability, profit, and algorithmic checklists, is it possible that in the digital age, a machine might be the very thing that teaches us how to be human again?